Hi there, ho there, boys and girls. James J. Patterson here, coming to you live from Alan Squire Publishing's Reading Room. And today we're going to read a little history. You know, there's a lot of conjecture over what the world will be like when they get the all clear. And conjecture is the name of the game today. I'm going to read an essay of mine called The Conjecture Chamber. And but before I do, I'd like to let's talk a little history. Um, you know, I used to be a member of the Book of the Month Club. Did you ever do that? They'd send you a bestseller every month. Now I would always take the bestsellers to the post office and send them back unopened. And but they had a great catalog, and they printed their own books. They had little sets of Scott Fitzgerald or Edith Wharton or any of those lovely people, and so I would snag those. So they sent me a note saying, Mr. Patterson, we realize you're never going to get any of these books that we send you, so we've taken you off that list, but feel free to buy from us freely, and I would. I think they were a victim of the Amazon debacle. But they give you a great present at the Book of the Month Club when you joined up. It'd be a whole set of like Sandberg's Lincoln or Will and Ariel Durrant's 12-volume Story of Civilization. And these books were amazing. I read almost all of them. They didn't just chronicle the passages of kings and wars and all that. They spent equal attention on the arts and sciences and lots and lots of stuff. They they were terrific. And I stumbled across this paragraph. This book was written in 1939, The Life of Greece. And I think I read it in like 1977. And that's why it's held together with duct tape and whatnot. But there's one paragraph in here that knocked me on my cab. And I see somebody on here pointing out my hero, Henry Miller's. Going to be looking over my shoulder today and make sure I keep things on the up and up. But there's a paragraph in the Life of Greece about the fall of nations, and I know we're all worried about what comes next after this thing, and maybe one thing that'll come next after the pandemic is finally over, more people will vote. That would be cool, would it not? Okay, but this is about Crete and the Minoan Empire, which came from there. It lasted a long time, but it finally came undone about 1150 BC. And I love these histories because these are really good writers. The writing in these books in these civilization series is fantastic. This particular paragraph was published in 1939, so some of those Moors are there. Will and Ariel Durrant were victims of the McCarthy era purge of liberals, but they're wonderful. They even make a cameo in the movie Reds. You've ever seen that? Okay, just a paragraph. We do not know which of the many roads to decay Crete chose. Perhaps she took them all. Her once famous forests of cypress and cedar vanished. Today, 2/3 of the island are a stony waste, incapable of holding the winter rains. Perhaps there too, as in most declining cultures, population control went too far, and reproduction was left to the failures. Perhaps as wealth and luxury increased, the pursuit of physical pleasures sapped the vitality of the race, and weakened its will to live or defend itself. A nation is born stoic and dies Epicurean. Possibly the collapse of Egypt after the death of Akhenaten disrupted Creto-Egyptian trade and diminished the riches of the Minoan kings. Crete had no great internal resources. Her prosperity required commerce and markets for her industries. Like modern England, she had become dangerously dependent upon the control of the seas. Perhaps internal wars decimated the island's manhood and left it disunited against foreign attack. Perhaps an earthquake shook the palaces into ruins, or some angry revolution avenged in a year of terror the accumulated oppressions of centuries. Perhaps some angry revolution avenged in a year of terror the accumulated oppressions of centuries. Ooh, that's chilling, is it not? I read The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, and I have this fabulous collection. Let me look. This is a 3-volume set. I got it from a used bookstore somewhere in the Midwest, and it's full of metal etchings and these wonderful plates. And like I say, this is the first volume, so it's a long one. I think the original Decline and Fall was 12 volumes long, so it's not condensed. It's all here. This is one of those kind of books you pull off the shelf and go, because it's got dust all over it. And the preface to this edition isn't called a preface. It's called a letter to the reader. And the first sentence is, "So you finally decided to read Gibbon." I say that to myself sometimes like an idiot. Okay, but Gibbon was cool. He was a funny little dude. I'm going to get to another book in a couple of minutes. It's called The Club, and there's a biography of Gibbon tucked away in there, and what a character he was. All right, so here's a paragraph from The Decline and Fall. It's a happy topic, isn't it? Okay. The authority of Plato and Aristotle, of Zeno and Epicurus, still reigned in the schools, and their systems transmitted with blind deference from one generation of disciples to another, precluded every generous attempt to exercise the powers or enlarge the limits of the human mind. The beauties of the poets and orators, instead of kindling a fire like their own, inspired only cold and servile imitations, or if any ventured to deviate from these models, they deviated at the same time from good sense and propriety. On the revival of letters, the youthful vigor of the imagination, after a long repose, national emulation, a new religion, new languages, and a new world, called forth the genius of Europe. But the provincials of Rome, trained by a uniform, artificial foreign education, were engaged in a very unequal competition with those bold ancients who, by expressing their genuine feelings in their native tongue, had already occupied every place of honor. The name of poet was almost forgotten. That of orator was usurped by the sophists. A cloud of critics, of compilers, of commentators darkened the face of learning, and the decline of genius was soon followed by the corruption of taste. The decline of genius was soon followed by the corruption of taste. It doesn't have to happen here, but it could. All right, now this book, The Club. This is one of those books I bought thinking, I'll put this on the shelf and maybe I'll get back to it in about 10 years. Well, picked it up the other day and read it through, and it was just wonderful. These guys are all a little too conservative for me. They're Samuel Johnson and Boswell, friends, Edmund Burke. I love to argue with Edmund Burke. I would have loved to have drank a bottle of port with him too. But C.S. Lewis is in here, and he comes to the rescue of the middle class in this way. C.S. Lewis once commented, when I was a boy, a bourgeois boy, that term was applied to my social class by the class above it. Bourgeois meant not aristocratic, therefore vulgar. When I was in my 20s, that changed. My class was now vilified by the class below it. Bourgeois began to mean not proletarian, therefore parasitic, reactionary. Thus, it has always been a reproach to assign a man to that class which has provided the world with nearly all its divines, poets, philosophers, scientists, musicians, painters, doctors, architects, and administrators. Go get him, C.S. Lewis. It's taken up for America. You know what makes America great is the buying power of the middle class. That's what made America great. Just saying. All right, I've given you some Durrant, I've given you some C.S. Lewis, I've given you some Gibbon. Now we're going to have a little Patterson. Not that I belong in any of that company. But this is now we're conjecturing what's going to happen after the all clear sounds. So we're going to spend a little time right now in the Conjecture Chamber. And it's in this book, Bermuda Shorts. And yes, it's Jimmy's reading copy. It's falling apart after 10 years. I got to get that new book done, don't I? Junk shop window. Some of you said that you liked my essay on Hermes, the trickster god, a few weeks ago, and I have 2 more of those I'm going to roll out in the coming weeks. And before I get on with this, I want to remind you that Alan Squire Publishing is sending books out. We're not like Amazon. We send our books out when you order them. And coming Monday, there's going to be a half-price sale on everything. So get on over to AlanSquirePublishing.com and load up on some good reading for the rest of this deluge we're under here. Okay, from the Conjecture Chamber. I'm standing on the metro platform in the capital of the empire, Washington, D.C. I'm waiting for the subway far beneath the business district when suddenly I notice that the fellow standing next to me seems very uncomfortable. Curious, because he's got to be wearing $5,000 worth of clothes. A camel hair coat, Italian loafers with tassels. He's carrying an umbrella and briefcase. Beneath the coat is a blue suit, white shirt, red tie. The kakistocracy uniform. He appears about 25 pounds overweight. His hair is professionally coiffured. He is approximately my age, that is to say, nearing 40. I wish. He is perfect, a perfect example of the white-collar class of fatuous, self-absorbed, self-important, ill-informed, unread, culturally inert pigs that you find lurking around centers of money and power. I'm a working musician playing 200 nights a year. Just one other musician and I tour together, write all our material, and book and promote the gigs as well. I've lost my patience with people who don't support the arts, never go out, read crap, and presume their financial status to be the sum and substance of their societal prerequisites. I've had 1,001 encounters with arseholes like him. Pick a topic, and he'll spit back some arbitrary gibberish he's heard shouted from his TV, or hit you with his who cares, so what kind of apolitical cynicism that prides itself on looking out for number one, yet denudes his personality of any individually inspired content whatsoever. The reactionary expressions he shares with his peers will vary, but the overall smug, peevish sentiments are the same with all these guys. I used to indulge these fellows. I used to give them the benefit of the doubt. I used to have a do unto others as you would have them do unto you attitude, but no more. They've done unto me enough. They've taken over. They are the enemy. Now I openly challenge them every chance I get. Leadbelly was right. I think to myself as I click my teeth with disgust, this is a bourgeois town. As soon as I get on the train, my mind is on something else. 7 stops later, I exit the subway, pick up my car, and arrive at the Royal Mile pub early, so I must wait for my friends. The Royal Mile isn't my idea of the perfect bar. The tables are too big and too close together. The lights are always bright, and there's no place to hide. Nor am I impressed with their infinite selection of beer. I would never come here on my own with a good book in my journal. I feel conspicuous, and the short wait is excruciating. But I miss bars. My friends arrive and the frenzy begins. These are tough-nosed, school of hard knocks, self-employed people who see the world differently than most corporate or government employees. Most people have to do the job hunt boogie half a dozen times in their lives. Self-employed individuals essentially have to look for work every day. Edgy, jaded, and angry, they have a very practical appreciation of how things do and do not work, of whom they can and cannot trust. They also have a deep and abiding loyalty to anyone who ever got them a gig, made them a sale, or sent a hot prospect their way. We have all met through our various professions. We enjoy each other's company, but we will never be what you might call close. That's fine with us. Somewhere deep down, we all know that before long we will disperse, that life's imperatives will carry us away from one another. We are also reaching the age where death is more and more likely. So we know how to savor the moment. Sid is a real estate agent, divorced. Unlike most real estate scum, he's a real bright guy, but he just walks around enraged all the time. He blows up at stupid and inept retail clerks. Warm beer makes him furious. During the first Gulf War, those "We Support Our Troops" banners would make him go berserk. How many people are you willing to kill to remain dependent on foreign oil? I mean you, personally, how many? He would accost some unsuspecting patriot. Everywhere Sid looks, he sees inanity and stupidity closing in around him. His healthy reflex is to lash out to create neutral space for himself. Earl Riles is another one, another musician, a perfectionist. He gets in these incredible funks, hates everybody, wears black all the time, and although several people at the bar have recognized him, he is oblivious. Tonight we'll all troop back to his place and sit up drinking Pernod, and he'll just let it all out. The world, according to Earl, is a place without love. He believes romance is pathetic, and this belief renders him hopelessly romantic to his dark legion of followers. He too sees uselessness and dreck everywhere he looks. All Earl wants is a little recognition and respect, and when he gets it, he finds it to be hideous and deformed. He wants to lash out as well. But at what? I've been hearing these laments all my life, and I wonder about the syndrome at large. As a familiar rant reaches its apogee, I'm trying to remember a passage from Henry Miller's The Air-Conditioned Nightmare, penned in 1944. As to whether I have been deceived, disillusioned, the answer is yes, I suppose. I had the misfortune to be nourished by the dreams and visions of great Americans, the poets and seers. Some other breed of man has won out. This world which is in the making fills me with dread. I've seen it germinate. I can read it like a blueprint. It is not a world I want to live in. It is a world suited for monomaniacs obsessed with the idea of progress, but a false progress, a progress which stinks. It is a world cluttered with useless objects which men and women, in order to be exploited and degraded, are taught to regard as useful. The dreamer whose dreams are not utilitarian has no place in this world. Whatever does not lend itself to being bought and sold, whether in the realm of things, ideas, principles, dreams, or hopes, is debarred. In this world, the poet is anathema, the thinker a fool, the artist an escapist, the man of vision a criminal. I perceive the same sense of abandonment in Sid and Earl. I feel it too somewhat. Sid, Earl, and I are lucky in that we are able to stay mobile. I am always on the road. Sid likes to travel, and Earl gets gigs twice a year in Europe, where they treat him like an artist rather than an ornament or an afterthought, as they do here in the States. Agnes has joined us and is taking us all in with a grain of salt and a shot of tequila. She waits to get a word in edgewise and then informs us that she has problems too. Her boyfriend has dumped her. Good riddance, we all agree. Vote to move on to another topic. Not good enough. Agnes wants a pound of male flesh, but she's come to the wrong place. We're only willing to cough up an ounce apiece. Why are men like this? Where is he? Have we seen him? He must have another girl. That's it, isn't it? You guys are protecting him. What an asshole thing to do. The problem we have here, I interrupt, is that you're the dump-e, and he is the dump-er. I've been dumped on all right. Well, yes, but you see, in this situation, when you're the dump-e, all you are left holding on to are a lot of worthless conjectures. Where is he? Where did you go wrong? Etc. It's like this big iron door slams shut on you, and you're locked in this deep, dark conjecture chamber, where the most complicated personal questions are posed, and since you are suddenly cut off from the data flow, out of the loop, those questions can only be answered hypothetically by your deepest fears and insecurities. These horrific negative scenarios are displayed over and over as if on a big screen TV for your own private torment. No good can come from spending time in the conjecture chamber. What's worse is, the longer you stay in there, the further from reality you stray. So when and if you do emerge, the further you have to go to make it back. Okay, that's exactly where I am. Now, how do I get out? You have to change the subject. But it doesn't occur to you to change the subject when you're in the conjecture chamber, because that's not the conjecture chamber's function. So something has to be randomly introduced that changes the subject naturally. Like getting rid of the hiccups, Sid says to Earl, tossing him a wink. It's pitiful being the dumpy. I wish he would take me back just so I could dump him and see how he likes it in there. She scowls. Now she's slid from anger to depression. She turns to Sid for some positive reinforcement, but his divorce has left him cynical and broke all the time. When he realizes it's his turn to speak, he shrugs and says, "Look, you're in love. You thought he would be different." A heavy silence descends. Agnes watches that weight settle on our brows, then lets us know that she isn't finished. Sid's last remark has pissed her off again. She is dangerously close to tossing the lot of us in the same boat with her despised, lost love. Men, you're all brain damaged at birth. It's a scientific fact. Did you know that? She got our attention. I've always suspected it was something like that, I say, trying to humor her, but a little afraid she might be onto us. It's true, in the womb, we all begin as females. Then, when the first jolt of testosterone gushes through the forming corpus callosum, it turns you into males and turns your brains to shit. All of you, shit for brains. That's what I'm going to call him from now on, shit for brains. That said, she looks at us defiantly, awaiting rebuttal. We look at each other stupidly and launch into a discussion of contemporary films. Don't get caught in the conjecture chamber. But you can go over to Squire Publishing and buy yourself a bundle. You can buy a bundle of books and cuddle up with a bundle. You can do lots of things with a bundle. We have bundles on sale. I'm bundled up with Richard Peabody. I hope he doesn't know it. His big book of essays and poems and short stories is called the Richard Peabody Reader. You can get that in Bermuda shorts. But you can also get my other book, Roughnecks, and lots of other stuff. Monday, all the sales are going to change, and there's going to be a whole new paradigm going on. I think prices are slashed on everything, and the bundles are going away. But you can go there. You can also come back here on Wednesday at 4 o'clock to Rose Sawari's page, and she's going to read some terrific poems for you. And she's an educator, so she can't help but throw in some bits of wisdom in it and good advice for writers as she does so. Also on Saturdays, we've got Willie Porter. Did anybody go to his concert on his page last Saturday? It was astonishing. My wife and I, we actually get dolled up and we make a day out of it. And there's lots more good stuff like that too. Benj Rowland is on Fridays at 3:30, BENJ Rowland. He's the most unusual performer you've ever seen, and he's brilliant. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Patterson here. James J. Patterson, live from the reading room at Alan Squire Publishing. Small press with big ideas. So come on back next week, and I'll have some more stuff for you. Maybe I'll drag Hermes out of the closet, get him back in charge. Okay. All right. That's us. More later. Love to all. How do I turn this damn thing off? There it is.